What if the glamour of Hollywood was just a shiny curtain, and behind it, the real stories could make your jaw drop? Forget those red carpet smiles. These celebrities put their careers and reputations on the line to spill secrets the industry would rather keep buried. Curious who dared to go public, naming names and pulling back the velvet rope? Buckle up. Some of these revelations didn't just shake up headlines, they changed everything you thought you knew about fame. Ready for a backstage pass? Rose McGowan. Imagine risking your career to tell the world what no one else would. Rose McGowan did exactly that. Before anyone else dared to say a word, Rose went on television and called out Hollywood's powerful men for behavior that was an open secret among insiders. She didn't just tweet about it, she stared straight into the cameras, naming names and giving details. Her explosive interviews on daytime and late-night TV lit the spark that became the Me Too movement, shaking the entire industry. When others stayed silent out of fear, Rose told her story to millions, refusing to let Hollywood sweep it under the rug. Her honesty gave courage to countless others to step forward with their own experiences, breaking a cycle that had lasted for decades. The backlash was fierce. Studios distanced themselves, old friends turned cold, and some even questioned her motives. But Rose didn't flinch. Her boldness made it impossible for the world to look away. In the end, she didn't just expose the rot in Hollywood, she started a conversation that still hasn't ended. When history looks back, Rose McGowan will always be the woman who turned a whisper network into a public reckoning. Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was once everywhere. Action movies, comedies, dramas. Then, suddenly, he vanished from the A-list. People guessed it was just Hollywood's classic cycle. But in a televised interview, Brendan revealed the brutal truth. He had been quietly pushed out after speaking up about mistreatment by a powerful figure in the industry. His candid interview sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Brendan didn't hold back. He described the emotional and professional cost of being blacklisted for doing the right thing. His story was full of heartbreak, but it was also filled with hope. He spoke about how the silence and pressure to just move on almost crushed him, but that he wanted to break the cycle for the next generation. The reaction was immediate. Fans rallied behind him. Other actors started telling their own stories. Brendan's willingness to go public made the industry's favorite trick, ignoring uncomfortable truths impossible to pull off. Now, with a comeback that's turning heads, Fraser's story is proof that speaking up is the real comeback. Mo'Nique. Winning an Oscar should be the beginning of an unstoppable career. For Mo'Nique, it was the start of a fight. In a wave of interviews and TV specials, Mo'Nique exposed what she called Hollywood blackballing, revealing how big names and big studios made her pay for refusing to play by their unwritten rules. She described phone calls, closed-door meetings, and backroom deals designed to keep her silent or compliant. On TV shows like The Breakfast Club, Mo'Nique laid it all out. The politics of pay, the favoritism, and how quickly you could be frozen out for saying no. Her boldness made headlines, but it also made her a target. Yet she never backed down. Mo'Nique's TV tell-alls inspired a whole new conversation about power and pay in show business. Some people called her difficult, but more saw her as a trailblazer. She proved that sometimes the only way to win in Hollywood is to refuse to play the game by their rules. Elijah Wood. You know Elijah Wood is the hero from Lord of the Rings, but what he revealed about Hollywood might haunt you more than any orc. During high-profile TV interviews, Elijah dropped the polite Hollywood mask and got real about the dangers faced by young actors. He talked openly about the hidden networks that protected bad behavior and how the industry's obsession with profit often meant ignoring real harm. Elijah didn't rely on vague warnings or rumors. He told stories, offered examples, and explained how easy it was for the worst secrets to stay hidden behind the glamour. His willingness to speak out turned a lot of heads. Industry insiders scrambled to control the damage, but Elijah's words had already done their work. Parents and fans started asking tougher questions, and Hollywood couldn't pretend it was all in the past. By bringing these secrets into the spotlight, Elijah Wood became more than just a star. He became a force for change. Thandie Newton. Thandie Newton isn't just known for her powerful performances, she's known for pulling back the curtain on a system that wanted her to stay silent. In television interviews on both sides of the Atlantic, Thandie laid out in vivid detail how her early career was a minefield of manipulation and exploitation. She recounted auditions that quickly turned into horror stories, with powerful people preying on her vulnerability as a young actress. Thandiwee's willingness to name the problem on live TV long before it was safe or trendy made her both a hero and a target. Some said she was just difficult. She proved she was just telling the truth. By exposing these realities, she didn't just tell her own story. She became a voice for countless others who had experienced the same thing but were too afraid to speak up. Her TV confessions put pressure on casting directors and producers to finally admit what had been swept under the rug for generations. Thanks to Thandiwe, there's no pretending that the casting couch is just an old rumor. It's a warning and a call to action. Rick Schroder. Most people remember Ricky Schroder as the cherubic kid from Silver Spoons, but the real story he told on TV was anything but innocent. Rick has used his platform to reveal the pressures, loneliness, and adult-level stress that child actors face, often before they've even lost their baby teeth. On talk shows and news specials, Rick described a world where kids are treated like miniature adults, hustled from set to set, surrounded by handlers, and pushed to perform, all while trying to have a normal childhood. He shared stories of being protected by agents and managers who really only protected their own paychecks. Rick didn't just vent. He urged parents and the industry to do better, calling out the real cost of turning kids into commodities. Some critics accused him of being ungrateful, but most viewers saw the honesty behind his words. By telling his truth on TV, Rick Schroder helped peel back the happy Hollywood mask, exposing a side of show business that's often hidden from the spotlight. Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada Pinkett Smith isn't afraid of the hard questions she asks them herself, often right on her own show, Red Table Talk. But her willingness to go on TV and call out the ugly realities of race and gender in Hollywood has made her a force you can't ignore. In bold, direct conversations, Jada shared her struggles with pay inequality, lack of representation, and the strange games studios play to keep power in familiar hands. She talked about being asked to audition for stereotypical roles, watching friends get passed over for leads, and the exhausting fight to be heard in rooms that don't look like her. Instead of quietly taking her paycheck and moving on, Jada used her TV platform to highlight these problems for everyone to see. Her honest, unfiltered approach made even industry veterans sit up and pay attention. By airing out Hollywood's secrets, Jada made it clear that business as usual doesn't work anymore, and she's not about to let anyone forget it. Leah Remini. Leah Remini was once Hollywood royalty thanks to her sitcom success. But it was her explosive TV interviews and her hard-hitting docuseries that showed the world what really goes on in the industry's secret corners. Leah didn't just tell her own story. She brought in other insiders, collected receipts, and showed how powerful organizations protect themselves while hurting the vulnerable. Her interviews were packed with revelations about how certain groups in Hollywood wield their power, silence critics, and punish anyone who tries to walk away. The fallout was immediate. Lawsuits, angry letters, and threats from all sides. But Leah kept coming back, episode after episode, refusing to let her story or anyone else's be buried. Her courage inspired others to step forward with their own truths, turning one woman's fight into a movement. For anyone watching, Leah Remini's TV confessions proved that exposing secrets isn't just about drama, it's about changing the game. Gabrielle Union. When Gabrielle Union joined a hit TV competition show, she expected drama, just not the kind that happens off camera. Gabrielle took to national TV to lay out exactly what she saw: discrimination, unsafe working conditions, and a culture of fear that protected power instead of people. Her interviews were detailed, passionate, and impossible to ignore. Gabrielle didn't just complain, she named the systems and people involved, sparking investigations and headlines. The industry tried to spin the story, but Gabrielle stood firm, refusing to be intimidated by corporate power. Her willingness to speak up put new pressure on studios and producers to clean up their act. Other stars rallied to her side, and suddenly the open secret was headline news. Gabrielle Union's boldness on TV turned her from star to whistleblower and made sure the show could never go back to business as usual. Dylan Farrow. For years, Dylan Farrow's story was one Hollywood whispered about but rarely acknowledged in public. That changed the moment she appeared on national TV, laying out her truth for everyone to see and hear. Dylan described the emotional toll of having her story doubted and dismissed, not just by the press, but by some of the biggest names in show business. She called out the way Hollywood rallies around its most powerful members, while the voices of the vulnerable are pushed aside. By refusing to back down and bringing her message to television, Dylan forced the industry to reckon with questions it had avoided for decades. Her story sparked a flood of other revelations and helped push for real change in the way Hollywood treats its secrets and its people. Dylan Farrow's TV moment wasn't just about her own story. It was a turning point for the entire industry. Janet Mock. Janet Mock is no stranger to speaking her truth. But when she took her story to TV, she did more than share personal details. She exposed the invisible barriers facing actors and creators who don't fit Hollywood's old-school mold. Janet appeared on talk shows and news specials to lay out how typecasting, stereotyping, and secret deals keep real diversity from breaking through. With each appearance, Janet peeled back layers that most studios would rather keep hidden. She described how meetings behind closed doors determine whose stories get told, who gets hired, and who's left waiting for a break that never comes. Her message was simple and direct. Talent alone isn't enough when the system is rigged. Janet's honesty, delivered with her signature blend of warmth and steel, forced the conversation into the mainstream. She made industry power players squirm, and she gave hope to a new generation of creators who finally saw themselves on screen and in the room. When Janet Mock spoke, Hollywood had to listen. Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd wasn't content to drop vague hints or hide behind legal language. When she took her story to TV, she brought receipts and named names, putting the spotlight on industry power players who had relied on silence for too long. In news interviews and documentaries, Ashley detailed her experiences with Hollywood's unspoken rules and secret threats. She described the ways the industry policed its own, punishing anyone who dared to speak up or ask for basic respect. Her revelations didn't just make headlines, they blew the lid off of a pattern that had been accepted for decades. Her bold TV confessions kicked open the door for others to come forward. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about her, it was about a broken system. Some viewers were shocked, others claimed everybody knew. But no one could pretend things were fine anymore. Thanks to Ashley Judd, Hollywood's best-kept secrets are out in the open. Ellen Pompeo. You'd think starring in one of the longest-running shows on TV would make life in Hollywood a breeze. Not for Ellen Pompeo. Instead of keeping her head down, Ellen went on talk shows and industry panels to expose the reality behind her big paycheck. Unfair contracts, wage gaps, and the way studios keep actors in check with carefully crafted deals. Ellen didn't just talk about herself. She called out the industry's divide-and-conquer strategies and explained how studios pit actors against each other to save money and keep control. Her stories, told in that sharp, no-nonsense style, connected with viewers and workers far beyond Hollywood. Ellen's willingness to break the silence inspired other actors to take a stand. She proved that you can be successful and still demand better, not just for yourself, but for everyone coming up behind you. When Ellen Pompeo speaks, it's not just drama. It's a masterclass in using your platform for real change. Samantha Morton. Samantha Morton's performances have always been fearless, but her biggest act of courage happened off-screen. When she went on British and American TV, Samantha told stories of powerful industry figures who used their status to hurt and control young performers, including herself. She described being a teenager, excited to make movies, and then discovering the reality. Closed-door meetings, unwanted advances, and pressure to stay silent. She called out the enablers, the people who just followed orders, and the industry's habit of looking the other way. Her emotional interviews sent shockwaves through the business. Suddenly, those unspoken warnings, the ones whispered between young actors, were being broadcast to millions. Samantha's honesty didn't just protect the next generation. It forced the industry to admit it had a problem it could no longer hide. When Samantha Morton spoke up on TV, there was no turning back. Sharon Stone. When Sharon Stone speaks, people listen, but what she's revealed on TV goes way beyond tabloid headlines. Sharon didn't just expose awkward moments or on-set discomfort. She told the world how even Oscar nominees are often misled, manipulated, and pressured by directors and producers who care more about shock value than respect. In interviews on talk shows and industry panels, Sharon described being tricked into filming scenes without her knowledge, forced to do reshoots she never agreed to, and pressured to keep quiet or risk being labeled difficult. She recounted how people in power use the "it's good for your career" excuse to blur lines and push boundaries. The response was instant. Sharon's candor struck a nerve. Her stories echoed experiences of countless others who finally saw their own struggles reflected on screen. By going public on national TV, Sharon Stone forced a conversation about consent, power, and who really controls the narrative in Hollywood. For every actor afraid to speak, she made it a little safer to tell the truth. Joan Collins. Joan Collins is Hollywood royalty, and she's never been afraid to ruffle a few feathers. On talk shows and in interviews, Joan has exposed the dark, hidden truths of classic Hollywood, long before hashtags and social media made it trendy. She detailed the relentless pressure for actresses to conform, the unspoken rules for landing roles, and the old boys club that controlled everything behind the scenes. Joan talked about pay gaps, harassment, and casting meetings that were more like interrogations. Her stories, told with her trademark wit, made it clear that glamour was only skin deep. By shining a light on the way things really worked in the golden age, Joan helped connect the dots to today's industry. Her TV confessions didn't just make for juicy headlines, they became a roadmap for anyone fighting the same old battles. Joan Collins proved that speaking out isn't just for newcomers. Sometimes the real legends have the sharpest truths. Megan Fox. Megan Fox may have started as the poster child for Hollywood blockbusters, but what she revealed on TV stunned even her harshest critics. Megan went on national talk shows and told stories of being bullied, belittled, and typecast by powerful directors who thought they could get away with anything. She described how speaking up meant risking roles, and how some directors made her feel disposable, like she was there for decoration instead of talent. Megan's TV confessions weren't just complaints. They were a masterclass in refusing to play the Hollywood good girl game. The reaction was split. Some accused her of being ungrateful, while many others saw her as a pioneer, finally saying what so many felt. By exposing toxic set culture, Megan Fox proved that you don't have to choose between your self-respect and your career. Her story put Hollywood's worst habits in the spotlight, and the industry is still squirming. Terry Crews. When Terry Crews went on TV and told his story, jaws dropped. Known for his towering frame and comic timing, Terry shattered every stereotype by admitting he, too, had been mistreated by a Hollywood power player. He described, with vulnerability and courage, how difficult it was for men, especially men like him, to come forward in an industry built on silence and intimidation. Terry's TV interviews weren't just confessions, they were rallying cries for accountability. He shared the backlash he received from online trolls to industry veterans, but made it clear he wasn't backing down. His openness inspired other men to speak out and helped show that no one is immune to abuse, no matter their strength or status. Terry Crews didn't just expose one bad actor. He exposed a culture that relied on shame and fear to keep people quiet. His courage made it possible for more voices to be heard, and Hollywood hasn't been the same since. Charlize Theron? Charlize Theron might be an Academy Award winner now, but she's never forgotten how rough the road to the top can be. On multiple TV interviews, Charlize has shared how, as a young actress, she was put in uncomfortable situations by men who held all the power. She described meetings that quickly turned from professional to predatory, and the pressure to accept things that made her uncomfortable if she wanted to keep getting roles. Charlize didn't just speak for herself. She pointed out how common her experience was for newcomers, especially women from outside the US. Her honesty hit home for a lot of viewers who saw how even the most glamorous careers could start with moments of real fear and uncertainty. By going on TV and refusing to sugarcoat her past, Charlize Theron made it clear. Hollywood's dark secrets can only survive in silence, and she's not interested in keeping quiet. Kesha. Kesha is better known for pop hits and wild performances than for taking on the powers that be. But when she stepped in front of the TV cameras, she used her fame for something bigger, exposing how powerful managers and producers could control an artist's career and even their personal freedom. Her TV interviews were raw, direct, and emotional. Kesha described how contracts and backroom deals could leave artists trapped, unable to release music or make choices about their own lives. She spoke about being watched, silenced, and forced to smile for the cameras while fighting battles behind the scenes. Kesha's willingness to share her struggle on television pulled back the curtain on a part of the music and film industry that many suspected, but few dared to discuss. By refusing to be silent, she helped spark new protections for artists everywhere. Kesha's story isn't just about survival, it's about rewriting the rules for everyone. Selma Blair. Selma Blair has always been a scene stealer on screen, but her biggest impact came when she sat down for TV interviews and told the world what Hollywood does to women who refuse to play along. Selma described being propositioned, marginalized, and even threatened by people who could make or break her career. She explained how actors, especially young women, are told to just deal with it or risk never working again. Selma didn't hold back. She called out casting directors, agents, and producers who protected each other instead of protecting talent. Her televised honesty encouraged other women and men to speak up, setting off a chain reaction of revelations and apologies. Selma's story made it clear: the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed, and it needs a total overhaul. When Selma Blair went public, she made sure no one could pretend they didn't know anymore. Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato might have millions of fans and a voice that fills stadiums, but what she revealed on TV about life behind the scenes was a total game changer. Demi didn't just talk about fame or fortune, she exposed the suffocating control that managers and image makers can hold over young artists. On talk shows and in primetime specials, Demi described how even daily decisions, what to eat, where to go, how to look, were micromanaged by people who cared more about money than well-being. She explained how pressure to be perfect was relentless, and that voicing concern could mean losing everything she'd worked for. Demi's TV honesty resonated with other performers and fans alike. Her courage in exposing the pressures young stars face inspired a much bigger conversation about mental health, support, and setting boundaries in an industry that rarely takes no for an answer. Demi Lovato proved that true strength isn't about hiding pain, it's about refusing to be silenced by it. Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais might not fit the mold of a Hollywood insider, but he's made a career out of torching industry secrets in front of a live global audience. Every time Ricky hosted the Golden Globes, he turned his monologue into a roast and a reckoning. On national TV, he openly mocked the industry's double standards, calling out everything from hush-hush business deals to uncomfortable truths about fame and power. He didn't just go for easy laughs. Ricky called out executives for covering up scandals, actors for looking the other way, and studios for preaching values they don't practice. His jokes landed with a thud and sometimes with a gasp, as viewers and celebrities alike realized he was saying the quiet part out loud. By refusing to play nice or pretend, Ricky Gervais turned comedy into a spotlight, shining on the uncomfortable realities most would rather keep in the dark. His fearless TV moments proved that sometimes the only way to expose the truth is with a punchline sharp enough to cut through all the noise. Corey Feldman. Few stories in Hollywood are as haunting or as persistent as Corey Feldman's. Decades after his childhood stardom, Corey went back on national TV and refused to let the world forget what he endured. He named names, detailed cover-ups, and described the fallout that came every time he spoke out. Corey's TV appearances were emotional, raw, and sometimes chaotic, but they forced viewers to listen. He challenged people to stop making excuses for the powerful, to believe those who came forward, and to start building a safer future for everyone in the business. For Corey, exposing the industry's secrets wasn't about revenge, it was about protecting kids, past and future, from the nightmare he lived. His story is a warning, a rallying cry, and proof that the truth can be louder than the most well-guarded secret. Corey Feldman made it his mission to make sure Hollywood never again gets to say, "We didn't know." So, after hearing these stories, do you still believe the Hollywood dream is all glitz and glamour? Every time a celebrity steps up and exposes the truth, they risk everything, not just fame or fortune, but friendships, jobs, and even safety. But these bold voices remind us, no amount of sparkle can hide the truth forever. If you've been shocked, inspired, or fired up, tell us which story hit you hardest. Don't forget to subscribe and share. because you never know who might need to hear what's really happening behind the curtain. What secrets will be exposed next?